It's a common assertion that WWE believes they know what's best for fans. Therefore, when the fans begin to campaign for something to happen on television, WWE management and the creative team truly believes that they know better and that fans will eventually come around to their ideas and booking plans. But this isn't always the case, however, as fans can campaign to see certain things happen for years, but these requests are never answered. Instead, they're outright ignored. WWE will traditionally go in the direction they want, without any focus on what the WWE fans actually want to see on Raw and SmackDown. But which times were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 times WWE outright refused to give the fans what they wanted. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10, Rob Van Dam wins the big one in 2002. Following WWE Champion Brock Lesnar becoming an exclusive SmackDown star in the summer of 2002, they had no choice but to introduce a second world title for the Raw brand. This would be the world title, and it would be lazily awarded to Triple H. This received major criticism, as already the prestige of the world title was damaged, as Triple H didn't even need to win the title. During this time, the most popular star on the Raw brand was Rob Van Dam. RVD's unique style of offense had really connected with the fans, and they wanted him pushed in the main event scene. WWE were in fact considering it. They'd heard the reactions and they realized that fans wanted RVD to be the #1 guy on the show. However, they had other ideas. RVD would face Triple H for the world title at the Unforgiven pay-per-view, but sadly, RVD lost. WWE would then move RVD down the card, and he would mainly linger around the mid-card for the next 4 years. Number 9, taking the spotlight off Charlotte Flair. It was clear when WWE decided to call up Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks in 2015 that WWE had huge plans for Charlotte Flair. She was everything WWE wanted in a female star, and they were dead set on making her the top female in the division. Over the next 7 years, they would do everything in their power to make this work, but fans didn't take to her. Instead, WWE fans gravitated towards Sasha Banks and Becky, but WWE still persisted with Charlotte's push. Over a 7-year period, Charlotte won a dozen women's titles across the brands, and hardly any of these reigns were born out of the fans' reactions and genuine demand to see her at the highest level. WWE fans wanted Charlotte to take a step away from the title picture, but WWE have refused to do this, and there appears to be no plans of them ever changing their booking philosophy for the daughter of Ric Flair. Number 8, pushing Rusev Day. One of the hottest acts in WWE in 2017 was Rusev Day. Rusev Day consisted of Rusev and Aiden English, and it was a fun gimmick where Rusev would declare that every day was Rusev Day. Even though the gimmick sounds rather simple, the crowd absolutely loved it. They took to the gimmick, and Rusev Day had become insanely popular overnight, so much so that Rusev at one stage had one of the top selling t-shirts on WWE's shop. Now, the issue was that Rusev got over organically. WWE had no plans to push him to the top of the card. They would even go so far as to editing out Rusev Day chants on YouTube segments, so it looked like Rusev wasn't as over as fans were led to believe. This was hugely disappointing, and it was part of the reason that Rusev was delighted to be released from the company back in 2020. Number 7, Daniel Bryan in the 2014 Rumble. And Daniel Bryan's popularity had truly skyrocketed by the time the 2014 Royal Rumble came around. He was beloved, and WWE needed to pull the trigger on him. It was expected by fans that Bryan would win the Rumble match and headline WrestleMania 30. However, they decided to leave Bryan out of the match entirely. When it was uncovered that Bryan wasn't in the Rumble match, fans turned on the match itself, and the eventual winner, Batista, was heavily booed. WWE simply had no plans to make Bryan the top guy in the company, and in relation to the WrestleMania plans for him, he was going to wrestle Sheamus. A truly underwhelming WrestleMania match for the WWE's hottest star. Due to the departure of CM Punk, these plans eventually changed, and Bryan was eventually inserted into the main event scene at WrestleMania, but they were still incredibly stubborn with their actions surrounding Bryan's push, and it's likely that if Punk didn't leave the company in 2014, Bryan would have never had his WrestleMania moment. Number 6, Booker T winning the world title at WrestleMania. One of the top storylines heading into WrestleMania 19 was the feud between world champion Triple H and Booker T. The rivalry took an unjust turn as issues surrounding race were brought into the story, and naturally WWE fans wanted to see the villainous Triple H be conquered at WrestleMania. WWE never had plans to make Booker T world champion, and the match wasn't even initially planned for WrestleMania. Booker T was embarrassed throughout the WrestleMania build, but Booker had maintained a huge popularity since he joined WWE, and this should have resulted in him winning the world title on the grandest stage. It was a huge missed opportunity for WWE, and it was just another time where they didn't listen to what fans actually wanted to see. Number 5. The Undertaker vs Sting. Sting shocked the world in 2014 when he finally agreed to sign with WWE. Naturally, the match fans wanted to see was Sting vs Taker. This was the dream match dating back to the Attitude Era, and now with both under the same umbrella, it could have easily happened. There was a ton of hype surrounding the possibility of the match, especially when it was reported that both Sting and The Undertaker would be wrestling at WrestleMania 31. And despite the fans clamoring to see the match, they had no plans to feature the match on the card. Instead, WWE booked Sting to face Triple H, whilst the dead man would face Bray Wyatt. It was a huge missed opportunity and a terrible business move on behalf of WWE. Number 4. Jeff Hardy headlines WrestleMania 25. A former WWE champion, Jeff Hardy was always a popular star on the roster, but in 2008, fans truly decided that Jeff was their guy. Jeff had become the default number 1 babyface in the company, and he was outselling everyone in relation to merchandise sales. The problem was that key people in WWE didn't see Jeff as a main event talent. Therefore, when he finally won the world title at the 2008 Armageddon pay-per-view, they quickly made plans to take the title off him. By the next pay-per-view, that being the 2009 Royal Rumble, they had already moved on from him, and he would drop the title at the pay-per-view to Edge. Due to Jeff's popularity, WWE fans wanted to see him headline WrestleMania 25. This would have been a smart move from WWE, and it made perfect business sense at the time. However, they opted to have Jeff face his brother Matt in an underwhelming match which frustrated Jeff as well as fans, whilst the main event consisted of Randy Orton vs Triple H for the millionth time on pay-per-view. Number 3. Refusal to drop the Stardust gimmick. In 2014, WWE debuted a brand new character for Cody Rhodes known as Stardust. Stardust was basically another version of Goldust, but fans hated it. It was lame and fans just wanted the real Cody Rhodes. When Cody's father, the legendary Dusty Rhodes, passed away in the summer of 2015, there was hope from fans that Cody would return to his original character and honor his father, but they insisted that Cody kept the downright awful Stardust character. Cody was a popular talent and fans wanted to see him in the spotlight. They just didn't realize that fans simply didn't want Cody portraying a dollar-star version of his brother's iconic gimmick. Number 2. Roman Reigns as the number 1 guy. When John Cena began to take on a part-time role in the world of WWE, they needed a new top guy in the company. Their choice was Roman Reigns. Reigns was popular in the Shield, but he had very few singles matches, and his promo and character work was very limited. WWE threw Reigns into the deep end, and he won the Rumble and main evented WrestleMania within his first year of being a single star. WWE fans outright rejected WWE's presentation of Reigns. It was forced, unnatural, and there was no way WWE fans were going to accept Reigns as the top guy. But WWE persisted with Reigns as the guy for the next 5 years, and it just wasn't going anywhere. Although Reigns was decent in the ring, he had some downright stinkers during his time as a top babyface in the company, and these sadly included WrestleMania main events. Thankfully, over 5 years after WWE decided on Reigns being the guy, they finally gave in to the demand of fans and turned Reigns heel at the 2020 SummerSlam pay-per-view. And number 1, turning John Cena heel. John Cena was the top guy in the WWE for over a decade, and while Cena was a great choice as a top babyface in the company, the adult demographic weren't too fond of Cena's character. There was a demand from this demographic to see Cena as a heel, as they believed that it would freshen up his character and bring new life to the WWE, but they refused to give in. Now, in terms of business sense, this was smart, as Cena sold more merchandise than anyone, especially with kids, so this revenue avenue may have been diminished. However, it would have certainly helped the WWE product. In 2012, there were rumors that they were going to turn Cena heel for his feud with The Rock, and Cena even reportedly had new ring gear ready to go, but unfortunately, this never materialized. But there you have it, folks. 10 times WWE refused to give fans what they wanted. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.